Welcome to the podcast, Entrepreneurs Share Secrets with Sandra Mossman. And today I have a guest, financial advisor, Kathleen Barlow. Welcome.
Thank you. Really glad to be here, Sandra.
Perfect. Thank you. So let's start with the journey. How did you start your financial advisor journey?
So this was really came out of nowhere. I was doing something totally different, and I had moved across the country with this specific job. And when I got to the new place of living, the owner of the company decided it wasn't good for him to have me so far away. Mm-hmm. So he let me go. And at 48, 48, that was a big deal. What do I do? And to make a long story short, I had met a couple people and was introduced to the financial industry. And I thought, maybe this could be something for me. And I kind of fell into it that way.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do before?
So I did a couple of things, but right previously before, I worked for an organization that sold consulting services to hospitals to improve patient safety. Mm-hmm. So we used to teach surgeons and nurses how to talk to each other.
Interesting.
And before that, I sold real estate for many years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So do you have any education as a financial advisor? Like, how did you got your certification and qualification?
Yeah, good question. So my formal education as far as college is totally different than the finance industry. But with my journey, I started with a firm that had an amazing training program. But prior to that, there are 3 or 4 licenses that I needed to get. So I did a kind of a self-study program over about 4 months to get these certifications. And then over time, I have, continuing education we have to keep up with. But I have to say that from my experience, yes, I legally I have to have the certifications, but my best education is working with people and learning about different situations that they have. Mm-hmm. And when I started out, I worked for a huge firm. And so I had a lot of backup.
Mm-hmm. Can you mention this firm where you worked before?
Yeah, I started with Edward Jones.
How long you worked there?
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So why did you? Okay, go ahead.
It was really good place to start. Mm-hmm. But with a lot of the large financial firms, because they have so many advisors, they have to have really strict guardrails as to how you can run your business and how you can't. I have more of an entrepreneurial spirit to me. So after about 3 years, I realized that was too restrictive for me personally. And so that's when I looked to move to a different place.
Mm-hmm. So just the restrictions that made you to go to the business side to be okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What services do you offer?
So I do kind of holistic wealth management, we like to call it. Mm-hmm. And I work with people on pretty much all things money. Mm-hmm. So we do planning, which is a big piece of my practice. So long-term financial planning as well as short-term financial planning. And then I manage assets. I have a investment management team that helps me manage their money. Mm-hmm. And then anything really else that comes up, I do a lot of coaching, financial coaching with my clients. It really depends on kind of what are their needs, and their needs change over time too. So my advice and my coaching is very fluid based on what they need.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. So what kind of team do you have? Like you told like you have investing people, mm-hmm. like who you have in your team?
Yeah. So I work with a small firm that I have access to an operation team. So I have two people that help me with the day-to-day admin stuff, if you will.
Mhm.
And then there's an investment team that does all of our investment management for the firm. So that's kind of the extended me, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have this another team, but it's under your company who does investing, or it's just another kind of company, or
Yeah, so I'll explain so when you work, there's two ways to work in the finance industry. Well,
Mhm.
there's many ways, but two big ways.
Mhm.
You can work for a broker dealer,
Mm-hmm.
Edward Jones, Raymond James, LPL, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can work with what we call an RIA, which is a registered investment advisory.
Mm-hmm.
This is a firm that most of them are smaller because the big firms are huge.
Mhm.
And it's under a different rule system. So it's state ruled rather than federally ruled.
Mhm.
And I am an independent contractor
Mhm.
with my firm, Journey Strategic Wealth, and they supply administrative help, investment management help, compliance they do for me, and any back office legal pieces, they support me on all of that.
Mm-hmm. 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 I see. Okay. Okay. So your clients, do you have some like portfolio, how big you manage, or like do you have some kind of like restrictions?
Yeah, so to be honest, I struggle with it because my heart says I need to help anybody, but
Mm-hmm.
financially and running a business, that's really not feasible.
Mm-hmm.
So I really look at what kind of help do they need, and are they helpable, if you will, for lack of a better word. Like, will they take my advice? Are we a good match together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, my minimum is $250,000 of investable money.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay, I see. $250,000. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So for the long-term financial strategy, you do like 401k. What's popular right now? Like where you should invest money?
So with the planning is really, how do you get from here to there?
Mm-hmm.
And for long-term planning, we say, okay, when do you want to retire?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And how much are you going to need when you retire? And where are you today? And how do I get you there? In other words, I have to tell you how much you need to put away every month or every year. And then the investment piece is last.
Mm-hmm.
And from a recommendation standpoint, I can, on something like this discussion that we're having, there's no recommendation because it's very personal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you would have a different investment than me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so also from a compliance standpoint, I can't.
Yeah.
Because we're really focused on what is suitable for the person.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. How did the COVID affected your like strategy?
So a couple of things. It did not affect investment strategy because it was really, the stock market was not really affected by COVID.
Okay.
We had a downturn right in the beginning, but it was like a day or two, and then everything went back up. So it really, we had days here and there, but it did not cause me and the investment team to make any changes. But what it did do was it changed the trajectory of the way I work, from the standpoint of having an office, having brick and mortar, to being virtual. And I think, obviously for a lot of people in the world, that has changed for them. So it enabled me to kind of break out of I was, doing the same stuff, blah, blah, blah. And this has enabled me to reach so many more people. And I can work I'm licensed in the whole country, so I can work with anybody.
I see. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Is there so many people seeking financial advisor? Is it like when people are looking for a financial advisor?
So it depends on the person, obviously. But a lot of times when people come to me, it's when something happens in their life. So it could be a divorce. It could be losing a spouse. It could be I'm retiring. It could be, hey, I'm 50 and I haven't saved a lot. I need help to know what to do, right? So it's a lot of times there's a trigger.
Yeah.
The other trigger is they seek out a different financial advisor because their current financial advisor is not working for them.
Why? Like why financial advisor could not work for you?
So a lot of things. My practice, I focus on women. So my niche, if you will, is women, say between the ages of 50 and 75, who something has happened in their life to trigger them to say, I need help with my money and my planning. And what I hear a lot is when they're with another advisor that there's not a lot of communication, not a lot of listening.
Yeah.
Or the service level is almost zero, right? I have heard there are a lot of advisors out there that don't do the whole planning. They don't do the holistic. They just do the managing the wealth. Well, you can't have one without the other. It's not as effective for people's financial success.
How often do you meet with them?
Everybody is mandated to meet with me at least once a year. So all of my clients, I do all of our annual reviews in the first quarter of the year. And then the rest of the year is really one-offs. So if something is up for them and they have a financial decision to make, sometimes I will do mid-year reviews for people who need it. A lot of those are small business people and they just we just kind of do a check-in. And then I also do events. I do virtual events, sometimes once a month, sometimes every other month. So that's kind of a way that I communicate with my clients as well as do some education.
Yeah. What kind of events you do? Like, what does it involve?
Yeah.
Like, what do you talk about?
Everything and anything. So sometimes it'll just be, hey, let's get on a Zoom call and talk about what's happening in the economy. Sometimes let's get on and say, does anybody have any challenges they want to talk about? And then sometimes it's education. Like last month, we did a Social Security. Next month, I'm going to do Medicare. And I might, so it's those kind of money things. So I would say 60% educational, 40% discussion in what's happening out there.
Yeah.
And then I also do, a lot of my clients are in one geographical area. So often I go back there and do a luncheon or something like that.
So where are you located? Where you do the lunches?
So Park City, Utah.
Okay.
That's where I started my business. I was there for 11 years. And so I go back there a couple times a year to meet with people. And,
Perfect. Yeah. Do you do something, events for entrepreneurs? Like something like some tips or something?
No, I've not thought about it.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
I think because I'm creating this community for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And it will be nice for somebody maybe to come and to share what to look for, like what to maybe strategize financially.
Yeah, so it's really one of the things that I have noticed with entrepreneurs is they do not think of themselves until last. In other words, I'm starting my business. I don't work for a company. I don't have a 401k. So how do I create my own 401k?
Mm-hmm.
And most businesses don't do it
Mm-hmm.
until they're making money. And I always say, no, start right from the beginning, even if it's a small amount. So there is a lot of education to be had on supporting your own retirement as an entrepreneur.
Maybe you can share right now, maybe 3 like tips, like, so think about the 401k, maybe some another 2 you can share.
Yeah. So there's 2 retirement vehicles that self-employed people can use.
Mm-hmm.
There is a traditional IRA account,
Mm-hmm.
and the IRS lets you put so much. I think this year it's $7,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you can do more than that, then you would open up what we call a SEP, which is a self-employed pension.
Mm-hmm.
And the SEP is same type of account. You can invest anything just like the IRA, but it allows you to put up to 25% of your adjusted gross income.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows you to put a lot more, and you could do profit sharing from your business.
Mm-hmm.
So either just a traditional IRA, if you like cap it. I always say start there.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you could do $1,000 a year, start there.
Okay.
And then as you make more money, you can do the SEP instead, and then you can create more investments for yourself.
Mm-hmm. So if entrepreneur is interested in this kind of consultation with you to maybe give you some advice, how much it will be and like how long it is, like what's the process?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I don't generally charge for one-off consultations, if you will. However, I often meet with people 30 minutes, kind of where are they at, what do they need? And if it's just something like that, where I'm getting them on track, it's a 30-minute call and I don't charge anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will share your content.
Yeah. It's important for me to use my knowledge to share with people, and so that's what I do.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I think it will be very helpful for everybody who this financial world could be complicated, because especially for me, I'm come from not from United States.
Yeah.
And all this like IRA, like all this terms is so different from me.
Yes.
But I think it's very helpful.
And when it's taught and when you learn, then you realize like this was not hard.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
But when you don't learn it, and we don't teach our kids.
Yeah.
We teach them so much, but then they get out there and then they're starting a business, and and also I think because I have a lot of experience with women, and we tend to say, I'm just going to do it all myself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get any help. And so,
Yeah, not very smart decision sometimes.
Exactly.
Okay, I think it's good to like good resource. You could be like very good resource for to decide like to work with the financials.
Yeah.
So let's start with your business. So you are in the business for 11 years. How many years?
Yeah. This is my 12th year.
Okay, 12 years. So how did you start it? How did you got your first clients?
Yeah. So when I was hired by Edward Jones, they have a program where experienced advisors can kind of gift part of their client base to the new advisor.
Okay.
And so what that did for me was it gave me like people to work with right away, right? And then as I became more comfortable with that, the way I really grew my practice was kind of boots on the ground. I did Friday coffees at a coffee shop for many years, where I would just be there on Friday at 9, we'd have coffee, and it was really a Q&A type of coffee, right? So I did that.
Mhm.
I also joined a women's networking group, which was really helpful for me. And I ended up taking a leadership position in town of taking it to the next level. So
Mhm.
that was really good exposure for me in the city that I was at. So I think the bottom line for me was me getting out and meeting people.
How big city you were? Like it was a big city where you lived?
No, Park City is small, maybe 20,000 people.
Okay. So yeah, I think it's a great like thought that you don't need to be in the big city to reach your audience.
No. No. And one of the key business points for Edward Jones, which I was at, is they're really big on community advisors. So they're everywhere. They're they're all over the country, and sometimes you'll go into a small town and there'll be 2 of them, or you go into a big city, there's 8 of them. So and I believe that there's enough business for everyone, so it didn't matter to me. That I was in a small community. I liked it because I got to be. People started to know me quickly. You know, I would talk to people and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, you're that lady who has the coffees on Friday." So
perfect. So when you started, do you have like a website? Did you create the website, or like was like basics you think?
Yeah. So when you work for a firm, you can't have your own website.
Okay.
So it was just a page on Edward Jones. So I didn't really do anything from a web presence or social media for many years.
So you worked for the Edward Jones, and then you left them, and then you started your own practice.
Well, so kind of. So I went from Edward Jones to Raymond James.
Okay.
Another big firm, and I like kind of morphed from being an employee to having being a 1099 and having my own practice with Raymond James. So that was a great place for me to be, to kind of ease into the having my own practice. And then 2 years ago, I found the firm that I work with now, and essentially I run my own practice, but I'm attached to them for support. Yeah.
And you also, I think you mentioned that in the financial industry, you need to have some license, some certificates, you need some regulations, what this firm provides you.
Yes. So they have a lot of the smaller firms, they hire like a compliance firm, and they do all of our compliance. And so I have the compliance guardrails that my firm provides for me. I don't have to do that on my own.
Okay. So you worked for Edward Jones and like this another firm, and then you went to the 1099. You became the 1099. And when you became 1099, did you do the website? Did you do like also setup, or still not?
Not until it's funny because so here's what I did. When I was with Raymond James, I said, okay, at a certain point, I'm ready to be out there as me. Right? Not under Raymond James, but out there. So hired a coach, fine-tuned my message, created the website. Then about 6 months later, I moved to Journey. And so I had to change everything because I want to, I really love the firm that I'm with. So I want to, from a marketing standpoint, blend. So it's me, but I'm with Journey Strategic Wealth because it's important to me for people to know that I have that behind me. And so I have a page on Journey's website right now, and I'm now thinking, because I can, from a compliance standpoint, I can have my own website, and I'm kind of teetering right now. Do I really need it? Can I just use what they're giving me? So I'm in a bit of a research phase on that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. How was the work with the coach? You mentioned that you worked with the coach. Was it helpful?
It was great. Yeah. I did a year with her. And this woman specifically worked with female advisors who market to women.
Yeah.
So she has a really clear niche, which is what I do. And so that was really helpful to help me craft my message. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So how it's important for a financial advisor to have a niche?
I think it's really important. When you start out, you know, there's kind of people say you just take anybody who reads, but I believe we're most effective if we have the group of people that have something about them that we can become experts on. Because so many, if you just cast out the net and I'll work with anybody, there's so many different situations and scenarios, and it's hard to become an expert when you have all of that. So I believe that a niche has enabled me to, one, craft a message that is clear, right? And be an expert in these transitions that these women go through.
How did you find your niche?
It was purely accidental. It was just these women kept coming. And it resonated with me, you know, being close, you know, being squeaky into my 50s back then, and knowing I have a life that I've lived and I've had a lot of experience, that it was almost inevitable that I was going to attract the same type of woman.
Yeah. So in the beginning, you didn't have a niche, kind of, and then you saw that like these people attract, and then you kind of change your message to these females. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that for advisors starting out, I think they're afraid to have a niche, because then what if there's that person that won't come to me because I don't, you know, so again, going back to like your kind of mental state when you're starting your practice, knowing that there's business for everyone, and a niche is not a bad thing.
Do you see the bad financial advisors there? Is there some kind of like people who start financial advisor, but they really don't know what they do? Like, is there some, like how you can avoid, or like people don't know how to do it or something?
I mean, like anything, right? If you're going to a professional, you want to kind of check them out. How long have they been in business? What is their, I do believe people who are starting out, it's best if they are with a big firm.
Yeah.
Because there's so many checks and balances behind you, you really can't make a mistake. And you're dealing with people's livelihoods, so you have to make sure you got a backup. And so, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought, Sandra.
Yeah, it's like how to be a good financial advisor, or how to avoid the bad financial advisor.
So you want to also, there's a thing online called broker check, and you can look up people and see if they've ever had any complaints against them.
See. Yeah.
So that's something I would do. And then you want to make sure that you like them. I have worked with so many women that say to me, I every time my advisor would call me, I'd get all stressed out and I didn't want to answer the phone. I'm like, okay, this is such an important piece of your life.
Yeah.
That you have to like the person that is helping you through this, right? So I'm clear on my initial consultations that there needs to be some back and forth and synergy. Do you like me, right? Do I like you? That kind of thing. It's simple, but really important. And then, making sure that the services that they provide, because we're not all the same. So make sure the services that they provide are appropriate for you. Their fees, make sure you have a clear understanding of what the fee structure is, because everybody's a little different. And there can always be the hidden fee that you go, they didn't tell me about that. So I think those are kind of the things that I would say for people to look for.
Okay. Back to the business.
Mhm.
So you started your journey with this Friday coffee, then like you joined to the networking group with started to be one of the networking person. What's next? What was in your next business strategies?
So the next one was really cultivating my existing relationships with my clients.
Mhm.
How can my service level be top notch so that when their friend or their neighbor says, "Oh, I'm looking for a new financial advisor," they
Yeah.
think of me?
Yeah.
Because in my business, like any service related business, my the best way to get new clients is referrals. So over the years, I would say the last 5, 6 years, I've been making sure that I am doing those kind of things in my practice so that people, one, enjoy working with me and know the benefits of working with me. Yeah.
So most of your clients come from the referrals, yeah, or
Yes.
like you're trying to get the referrals. I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And some advisors, I've not done this, but some advisors will create relationships with business people to get referrals, like accountants,
Yeah.
attorneys, right? I never did the accountant route. It was just not for me. I have, and I do work with some divorce attorneys, and so we will share, we'll refer back and forth to each other. But a lot of advisors will do that. Especially accountants.
Yeah. I think it's big with partnership right now. Collaborations, partnership is.
Yeah. And there's also a trend in our business called a family office, where they have an attorney, they have an accountant, they have, they have, like, they can do all of it. That's a trend now that I'm seeing.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you differentiate yourself through the other financial advisors?
Yeah. So again, the work that I do is holistic. It is all encompassing around money. But I think the biggest difference for me is that I help people identify what their relationship is with money, because a lot of times we have a broken relationship with money, depending on how we grew up, what has happened in our life. And I know that it's important. If we don't feel good about money, we will not be successful with it. We won't make the money we can make. We won't grow it the way we want to grow it. We won't stick to the planning because there's too much fear. So in the beginning of a relationship with a new client, there is a lot of discussion around that, and the tools that I can teach them, tools to help them kind of shift that relationship so they feel better about it. And so I think that differentiates me from a lot of other advisors. I don't really know anybody who does what I do.
So for the family, you need to have financial advisor from the female and the male. Like if the female likes you but male don't like you, like husband don't like you, or how do you, if they don't agree, or like how do you work with the families?
So it depends on the couple. But like, for instance, I have a client who I've been working with her for probably 5 years, and her husband has chosen not to. He has his retirement money and he manages on his own, but I help them with their plan together, right? So my advice is given to both of them, but he still gets to do his thing on the side. Because a lot of times, in my experience, the men want to make the decisions and want to do it on their own. So and I have to say, I've dealt with them saying, okay, I'd rather get advice from a man. Okay, right? But then I've had the opposite happen. So I've had where, and I've got two people I'm working with now that's happening, that I started with the woman and the husband has started to show like, what's happening over there? Like, can I be part of that?
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this happens a lot in later marriages, right? Where they come together and they have their own pots of money.
Yeah.
And they keep them separate.
Yeah.
So he's getting his advice here or maybe not. And then she says, oh, I need somebody to help me.
Yeah.
And for these two people that I'm working with now, over the years, their husbands have heard me and heard about me and their accounts are doing well and the planning has helped them. So now they're like, maybe I should get you to help me too. And then we do it as a family. And then the third kind of scenario is that they never get on board. And a lot of times I have had initial consultations, and when the husband shows up and does this, I know it's not going to be a good fit. So I will tell them, like, I think you need to look for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because I'm not fighting with him. Why should I?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have referrals? Do you referral to somebody else, or say you just tell them, can you find yourself somebody else?
I have not done that.
Okay.
I've just said, find somebody else. The only time I've done that is with young investors just starting out, right? They're not that complicated. And I have a couple advisors that are new to the industry and I like them. So I might refer some of the younger people to them because it's appropriate.
Yeah. So you mentioned that when the account doing well, like, but sometimes account or like they have losses or something doesn't work. Like, how do you deal with this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I start working with someone, there's a lot of discussion around here's how the stock market works, right? It goes up and it goes down, but over time it goes up, right? So the creation of a portfolio when we first start working together takes all of that into consideration, right? So we look at who the people are, what their goals are, but we also say, what kind of portfolio can we create for them that we can decrease volatility as much as possible and still get good growth. So when we have a downturn, most of my clients will not call me because they know what I'm going to say. And I'm going to say, just hold on, it's going to be fine. And, if there are investments within our portfolios that might not be as good when we first started, my investment team is really on it. Like, okay, let's switch that out for something else. And so there's a lot of active management in the portfolio management, but me being the front person for the client, it's really a discussion. So I have probably 10, 15 clients that I know I need to call them and say, it's okay. This is what's happening. This is what the outlook is, and then I have the other people who will call me and I'll say, okay, stop looking at your account. This is money for later. We're not worrying about it right now.
Yeah. How do you deal with like what's expectations, like the high expectations, when people say like, oh, I invest, I will have so much money or something, like the market is, I don't know, something.
Yeah. So with the planning that I do plan with an increase, right? So because we know over time, the stock market always goes up, but I'm really conservative. So I'll use a low percentage, maybe 5.5%. In my planning to say, okay, if you did that for 25 years, here's what it looks like. However, that doesn't happen, right? But it gives us an idea of the growth and also the impact of compound interest, right? So the stock market is different than if you were just doing a bond, if you will. So yeah, so that's how we do it.
Mhm. So what's happening right now in the financial world? What's the recession is coming? Is there something there?
I don't know.
No.
We don't know. But here's what's good, right? Our GDP is up, right? So that's good. Our inflation's down. That's good. Unemployment is still at a record low. So these are the indicators that help us with a stable, if not up, stock market.
Okay.
But we're going to see some fluctuation when we see, we had last week that the inflation rate wasn't out yet, but there was speculation that it could have a recession, and then we had a down day, but then the next. So there's no one thing right now and ever that says, okay, the stock market's going to go down.
Yeah.
All people can do is create a portfolio with enough diversification that's appropriate for them and ride it out.
Yeah. Main thing is, like you told, like it's a long-term game. Yes. Like maybe it will go down, but it will go up later.
Yes.
Yeah. Vice versa.
And so if people ask me all the time, excuse me, that if I want to save for a down payment on a house in 3 years, right? And they say, well, let's do the stock market, because we can make more money.
Yeah.
3 years is a short amount of time. And so we either will pick something very, very conservative, just to give us a little bit of return, or not at all, right? It is when you're at 3 years or under that you're saving money for, it's always wise to really say, okay, what happens if after the second year I need to use it and now it's down, right? So big difference between if I have a short-term goal rather than my 20 years to retirement.
Does the clients come to you and tell which stocks they want to invest in?
Not usually.
No, they trust you. They trust your expertise.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you do the fees? Do you like the flat fee percentage, or like how the financial advisor do the fees?
So I charge 2 types of fees. So when someone first comes to me for the financial plan is always in the beginning. So there's, I charge $5,000 for the financial plan and kind of that initial coaching. And then once we've done that, and if they have assets that we're moving for me to manage, then I charge 1% of the assets every year.
Okay.
After that. And there's no other planning fees after that. We still work with the same plan. I still update it. I still change it, but the fee structure just changes a bit.
Is it everybody do it, or like there's different financial advisors who do different fees?
People do differently. The charging a fee based on your assets is the most common. Some people charge planning, some people don't.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what's your main revenue in your business? Is this assets, like 1% of the assets? Yeah.
That is my main revenue. Yes.
Okay. So what did you implement to scale your business? What helped you to, maybe you do the different financial like services, or like you told, like you do the consultations, what you do to grow your business?
It's back to the referral piece, right?
Just to do more referrals?
Yeah, concentrating on giving the best service so that I am top of mind for the existing clients that I have. And, so now it's a little different because I'm 100% virtual.
Yeah.
So I am also just starting a social media program to help me kind of get out there to people all over the country.
Yeah. So tell me about your social media. What do you do? Like, how is it?
So, of course, I hired somebody to help me because there's only so much I can do. But what they do for me, what was beneficial for me, and I have to urge any entrepreneur out there, no matter what your business is, you need to be online. And these people that do it can do it so much faster, and it's just easier. So what they do to help me is, first we talked about like, where do I want to be? So I'm everywhere. I have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube.
Okay.
And they help me with, okay, what is our focus this month? Right. And we'll create a theme, and they will give me, here's the videos that we need. And they will do, kind of, I bullet information, and they make it say, they make it say nice things.
Yeah. Yes.
And then, and so the other piece that I'm working on is a Facebook group.
Yeah.
So I have a private Facebook group for people to come and talk about their challenges and to get tidbits from me, education, so those are kind of, that's where I'm at. I'm about 2 months in, so it's too early to tell, but I believe that if people can see me and hear me, it's a bit different than just if I put a photo up with a quote. So I'm hoping this enables me to be out there so people can say, oh, I can talk to her.
Yeah, I think do you see where is the best return, like Facebook group, like Instagram, YouTube is still
it's too early. And in fact, I had a meeting with her this morning, and she said, usually we need about 3 solid months before we can start saying, oh, that subject worked, that didn't work. So we're kind of fine tuning that right now.
How did you find them? Are they are they good in the financial world, or just like broad?
I didn't. Yeah, I did not want somebody specifically in the financial world, because I'm different. And, I didn't want the same thing that the other financial advisors are putting out there. And so I found these people actually as a referral from another advisor that used them. And they're great. They're out of South Africa, which is kind of fun. And they have a whole team. So they just do all my social media, a certain amount of hours a month. And it's been really beneficial. And I think it can help me grow a bit more that way, in addition to referrals.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Which tools or like platforms you advise to your clients to manage your spendings, or like investing, or what do you advise?
Yeah, so it depends on the person. So there's a couple of things, like I work with people on budgeting, right? And some people are okay with using an app for their budget. Some people want a spreadsheet because they don't like apps, right? And so I get to know the client first before I recommend to them, here's what I think you should do. But there are lots of apps, but there's also a lot of resources from people's banks. Right. So when you log on to your account, there's a lot of times there's a budgeting tool. And it's free. So, my clients have a website that it's their own website, and they have their whole financial picture in one place if they choose to use it that way. So if they don't expand on the resources in it, they would just log in, they could see their investments done. But if they wanted to attach their checking account and their credit cards and categorize, they can use that on their own website when they work with me. So it really depends on the person.
I see. Okay. Yeah, it's very customized. I see. It's like, so like what's best for the client.
And if they choose something that is best for them, they'll keep doing it. right?
Yes,
If I throw this one app at somebody and they go, oh, I'm not going to do it, right? Or they do it for 2 months and that's it.
Yeah.
So I try to find what is going to make them like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah. This person should follow the trends, like financial trends, like to read some news, or they just come to you to tell like what's happening.
So that's also personal, right? If you want to, right?
Yeah.
But you also have to you have to decide, what are you going to take and what are you not going to take? So I saw a post from an advisor yesterday, and he had a screenshot of the news screen.
Yeah.
And it said something like, stock market soars, right? Stock market soars is a big statement, right? And then you look at the numbers and it went up 0.3%.
Yeah.
Right? So it also happens the other way. Stock market tanks.
Yeah.
And it's maybe down 1/3%, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, you have to take a lot of that stuff with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
And if you want, dive deeper.
Yeah.
Or call me.
Yeah. So do you see like so many people manipulate like this with the clients of like you should invest, you have like financial advisor, like they put these statistics or like scared them to get like client?
Oh, no, I've never seen that. No, it's more like news.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I see. Okay.
I mean, there might be people out there, but I've never witnessed that.
Okay.
So one of the things from a compliance standpoint is that we can't promise anything.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I urge people, if you ever sit in front of an advisor and they're going to promise you X, go the other way, because we're not supposed to do that.
Okay. So what's the mistakes the person who want to get the financial advisor should avoid? Like,
but mistakes for themselves or for the financial advisor?
Who want to start a business? Like what they maybe what mistakes you did in your way, and you usually like what you shouldn't do.
I would say if somebody's starting out from scratch, that you start with a big firm.
Okay.
Again, the education is important and the support as you learn the business. And then once you've got your feet on the ground and you have some client base, then you find what's important for you if the firm you've chosen is not quite there. And I would say one thing that's helped me is that I did everything in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's helped me so that when my operations team is doing something, I know exactly how they did it. I know how it should be done. And I also know how to support them because I've done it, right? Yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs, when they start out, they do everything themselves. And that is, for me in my business, it was really great. But as I grew, and as I am still growing, I know like I can't do my social media myself. I needed a firm that could help me with operations and investment management. I have a personal CPA. I don't do my own taxes, So those are things that as you grow, don't wait too long to get the support from other professionals. Yeah.
Would you want it to start it? Did you ask for help too late, or maybe you needed to help, get marketing team maybe earlier, maybe?
Yes, I would have done marketing earlier. Yes.
Yeah, yes. I see. Okay. Maybe any other advice for the listeners for it could be somebody who wants to start a business, or maybe for just person who be smarter with your finances, maybe some kind of advice you want to give.
So if somebody wants to start a financial advising business, I'd say the biggest piece that you have to remember is you have to listen to people.
Yeah.
The only way you can support them is if you know who they are. And the only way you're going to know who they are is if you listen. I think that would be one piece. What was the second part of your question?
It's maybe for somebody, what advice you would give to somebody to be more financial, like educated or smart.
So a couple of things. One, know where all your money is. I have a lot of conversations with people that say, oh, I have an old 401k over here, and then I have this, and I'm not sure where this is. You have to have them all together. It is too chaotic to keep track of things like that. So it's really good. You either have it all in one firm or, you know, so getting a handle on what you have and where it's at. And I think the other piece is make sure if you have a job that has a 401k, make sure you're in it and you're doing it and you're getting the match. Also, make sure you are invested in the 401k. And this is what I mean. Sometimes you can start a 401k, and if you don't tick a box that says this is the investment I want it to go into, it will go into a money market. And you don't want that, right? So make sure that you know what your 401k money is invested in and it's appropriate for you. A lot of times the 401k administrators have somebody you can call to say, hey, is this appropriate for me? But I always say, you know, make sure you do that. And also, every time you get a raise, you increase your 401k contribution.
Okay.
Just a bit, even if you do 1% a year, you know, your goal is to max it out every year. That's the goal to reach.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kathleen. I think a great podcast, great information. And if somebody want to have the free consultation with finances to review, I think you should contact Kathleen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you just my website, KathleenBarlow.com, and it's schedule a consultation.
Yeah, perfect.
Sandra, thank you so much for having me. It's been it's good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.